Derby County host Luton Town at Pride Park Stadium this weekend in another relegation six-pointer. Now, obviously for Derby County, they are just sitting outside of those relegation places with 43 points from 42 games. Luton Town sitting just within the relegation places with 40 points from 42 games as both sides head into this one in a decent set of form. Now, obviously, for Derby County in their most recent game, they drew 2-2 with Portsmouth in what should have been a 2-1 victory. Now, obviously, there was many different conversations which came out of that game, including should Jakub Zetterstrom have been sent off? Should Matt Clark have been sent off? And these are all things that we're going to get into in this video. Luton Town obviously picked up a disappointing defeat versus Blackburn Rovers, a Blackburn Rovers side who hadn't won in, I think, 6 games. It's very, very disappointing for Luton Town to take that loss, and also looking at their injury list, it's not looking good for them heading into this one. Now, before we get into, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County content heading your way across the course of the end of this season and heading into next season with transfer profiles, news and player reviews all coming your way. Make sure you've got that notification bell on and hit that like button to stay tuned for all the latest. Get into the injuries and the team form. Let's take a look at the league table. Derby County currently sitting in 21st place on 43 points, 1 point outside of that relegation zone, with Cardiff City sitting just behind them. Luton Town find themselves on 40 points in 42 games, and even with a victory, they probably would not find themselves outside of the relegation places, because they'd have to score, I think it's 8 goals would have to be the goal tally for them to get ahead of Derby County, because they'd need a 16 goal swing, and obviously Cardiff City would have to lose as well. So it's going to be a massively important fixture for both Derby County and Luton Town heading into this one. Derby County could potentially build a 4-point gap to Cardiff should Cardiff City lose, and obviously that would then be a 6-point gap to Luton Town, and Luton Town could get themselves on level pegging with the edge of the relegation zone. Now, looking at the home form for both sides, obviously taking more of a keen eye onto Derby County. Derby County played 21 games at home, 9 wins, 4 draws and 8 defeats, 25 goals and 17 conceded, with +8 goal difference and 31 collected points. They sit 17th in the Championship so far this season for home form. If we look at Luton Town's home form, 21 games, 7 wins, 7 draws and 7 defeats, 21 scored, 21 conceded and 28 points collected. Now, they sit just outside the relegation zone when it comes to that home form, and it gives Derby a little bit of hope heading into this one when you flick on over to that away form. Obviously, we know Derby County haven't had the greatest of away seasons. 21 games, 2 wins, 6 draws and 13 defeats, 19 goals scored, 37 goals conceded, a -18 on goal difference with 12 points collected, and Luton Town find themselves in the exact same boat. 3 wins, 3 draws, 15 defeats, 16 goals scored, 42 conceded, a -26 goal difference and 12 points scored across the course of their away fixtures, which obviously gives Derby massive hope heading into this one. Now, obviously for Derby County, they've been in some really impressive form over recent weeks with 4 wins, 2 draws and 1 defeat over the course of their last 7 games. But if we look at the last 5, Derby County sit just outside playoff form with 8 points in 5 games, 2 wins, 2 draws and 1 defeat, 7 goals scored, 5 conceded. They're just 1 point off being in that playoff position over the course of the last 5 games. Luton Town find themselves in 14th place, 2 points less than Derby County, 5 games, 1 win, 3 draws, 1 defeat, 3 scored, 3 conceded, and as I mentioned, 6 points in those 5 games. And it's very interesting looking at this form table, because you look at some of the teams up towards the top end. Swansea City have turned it on recently, Oxford United, Stoke, Plymouth Argyle as well. They've all started to turn it on this season, and the only real team who could potentially fall into drama based on the last 5 games is Pompey or Hull City potentially. So it's massive that Derby County get themselves a victory in this one. Now, if we look at the XG table, Luton Town are massively underperforming. You'll see it on screen now. Derby County also underperforming as well, 2 places worse off, but Luton Town are 9 places worse off, which I think shows how poor they have been this season. They're minus in every single category. Derby County are only up in one category, but it's been a disappointing run for both of these two sides as this season draws closer to its conclusion. Now, if we look at the head-to-head of the two sides, which stretches all the way back to 2019, you'll see that Derby County have won 2 games, Luton Town have won 4, and 1 draw between the two sides. And obviously, Derby County were at the heart of a devastating comeback from Luton Town back in December. Derby County scored, I think it was in the 75th minute or something like that, and then conceded 2 really late goals. I believe it was Carlton Morris who scored both of the goals. If I can just check here. No, it was Holmes and Morris. Caden Jackson scored in the 58th minute. But to go back to Derby's last win versus Luton Town, you have to go all the way back to April of 2021, where Derby County took a 2-0 win up against Luton Town. Lee Gregory and Graham Shinney picking up the goals. But what a disappointing run it has been for Derby against Luton Town. And obviously, Luton Town holding the bragging rights at the moment. But will Derby County be able to combat Luton Town with this new Derby County setup under John Eustace? Now, we've spoke about where the teams sit in their league table based on form, XG, away and home. But let's take a look at the recent games then. Derby County have faced some tough tests over the course of recent weeks. Up against Pompey at the weekend, taking the lead twice and ending up drawing. It's a disappointing way to drop points, in my opinion. A massive result up against Burnley, which many Derby County fans will probably turn around and say we should have picked up a victory in that one. The defeat versus Swansea City was a disappointing one for Derby, and one which they probably look back and think we should have at least got a point there, which then would have put Derby County 2 points out of those relegation places. And then obviously 2 tremendous victories versus Preston North End and Plymouth Argyle. Now, Derby County have only won once since the return from the international break, so they'll be looking for another victory heading into this one. But let's take a look now at Luton Town. They hosted Blackburn Rovers at the weekend and lost 1-0 despite Blackburn being down to 10 men for the final half an hour. Now, Luton Town were the better side for the best part of this game, especially in that second half after the man was sent off. 12 shots, 2 on target. They'll probably turn around and think we should have won this game. But they've got that 3-5-2 setup, which ultimately hasn't really done a great deal for them this season. And there's a lot that they need to sort of work on. Now, there is a player in the Luton Town dressing room who Derby County fans may know from the January transfer window, and that goes by the name of Lasse Nordas, a player who was linked with Derby County in the January window, and I believe also back in the summer. But he's only started twice since joining Luton Town, playing 211 minutes, getting 1 assist, which obviously he'll think, I should have gone to Derby County. I probably would have played every week. There's also former Derby County loanee Teran Mengi, also playing for Luton Town at the moment. Now, there's also players like Marvellous and Kemba, Tim Krul, who you'll all know as well. And obviously the coach at Luton Town is Matt Bloomfield. Now, it's a disappointing display for Luton versus Blackburn, but they have picked up some good results in recent weeks. A draw against Stoke, a draw against Luton, and a draw against Middlesbrough with a victory over Hull City. Luton Town probably look at that and go, if we'd have picked up a point against Blackburn, picked up the win against Stoke, then they probably would have been in a much better position. But it's disappointing run in the sense that they haven't picked up enough points to get themselves out of those relegation places, and ultimately now they're sitting 3 points away from safety with a game against that team who are sitting in that safe position and could find themselves 6 points away come the end of play on Friday. Now, that then opens up the door for them to be relegated on Monday when everybody plays, and it'll be interesting to see how that one does develop. Now, obviously, let's take a look at the injury list for both sides. There will be another video regarding the injuries soon as John Eustace has done his press conference, and we've got more in-depth detail about the injury list at the moment. But we know that Derby County are set to see the return of Ben Osborne. It was mentioned last week that he is a week away from being back on the grass, so he should be back on the grass now, but whether he'll be involved this weekend is another question. Callum Elder hasn't trained since the Preston North End game, so expect him to be out for this one. Corey Blackett-Taylor, also another one expected to to be out. We already know Curtis Nelson, Dejan Brown, David Ozo and Lars-Jørgen Selverson, as well as Ryan Niambi, are all set to be out for the rest of the season, with Kemar Roof also not getting any closer. Now, obviously, the big conversation over the course of the last couple of weeks was about Caden Jackson, obviously picking up that injury in the Swansea defeat, but then obviously has played in both of the last 2 games since. So it'll be interesting to see if he's also playing on injuries. And obviously there's a conversation about Sondre Langas as well, who's currently playing through a knock, which we know about, and could potentially require surgery over the course of the next few weeks. But hopefully he can make it through the next, 20 days until this season is closed, and we'll know what division we're in. It's crazy to think that we're 20 days away from knowing what division Derby County will be in next season, what division Luton Town will be in next season. Now, let's look at Luton Town's injury worries. They announced the other day that Alfie Doherty will be out until the end of the season. Elijah Adebayo has just done his ACL, which was, I think he's done his ACL if I remember rightly, which will see him out until pretty much the end of this year. Jacob Brown is reportedly out for the season. Shandon Baptiste is out, as well as Tom Lockyer. Now, let's take a bit of a deeper look into this squad that Matt Bloomfield has at his disposal. I think there's some really good players in there. Like Doherty, just a few 8 months ago was getting calls to potentially be in the England squad. Tedam Mengi has had massive amounts of praise over recent years. Mark McGuinness, I think they signed him for £10 million this summer. Reece Burke, another decent player, and obviously they've been missing a player like Tom Lockyer. You look in the midfield, Marvellous and Kemba was at Aston Villa a few years ago. Taif Chong came through the Man United Academy. You look at Tello Asgard. I think he's an unbelievable player, is Asgard, and it'll be interesting to see if he stays at Luton should they go down. And you look at the forward line, Morris, Isaiah Jones, Jacob Brown, Bowler, Adebayo, Lasse Nordas, and you look at it, and even Malenkik Ali, and there's some really, really good players in there, and obviously missing out on Adebayo and Jacob Brown, and I think maybe Bowler might be out for this one as well, but we'll have to wait and see on that one, is massive loss for them. But a player like Isaiah Jones, who has had masses of experience, and had some tremendous seasons at Middlesbrough, has just gone down the pan. It was terrible for Middlesbrough earlier in the season, and he's had one contribution in 36, 37 games this season, which is really, really disappointing for a player of his calibre, and ultimately it's probably down to those failed moves which he's had. Now, if we look at the numbers behind some of the players, we need to watch out for Carlton Morris and Jordan Clark, 2 big players for them. Obviously, their best player so far this season is Alfie Doherty, but obviously we know he won't be playing. Now, obviously, let's have a little bit more of a discussion about Derby County. It's been a very, very interesting period for them over the course of, say, the last 6 weeks. Take out the international break. After not winning a game in 2025, they went 10, 11 games without winning 2025, maybe more. Took their first victory on the 8th of March when they were 7 points away from safety. Won 4 in a row. Lost to Swansea. Then picked up 2 massive draws. It's going to be interesting to see how they close out this season. I think Derby County, 5 points keeps Derby up, if I'm completely honest. Because, yes, it would require Cardiff to win 2 games, right? And they've got a difficult run to get 2 wins. I think 5-6 points keeps Derby County in the division, and it's going to be massive to see if those 2 wins do come and where they do come, and hopefully one of them will come this weekend versus Luton Town. There's obviously a lot in the works at Derby County with potential takeovers and all sorts going off behind the scenes, but you can obviously let me know your thoughts and predictions down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, turn on that notification bell, hit the like button as well to let me know you enjoyed this video, and make sure you let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you haven't done so already, check out my TikTok, check out my Twitter and everything like that. I post a range of different content everywhere. There's also my F1 channel, which you should go and check out as well if you're interested in Formula 1. But let's get on to the next video. It's going to be a massive test up against Luton Town. Tomorrow's video is going to be checking out that Championship relegation battle and all the teams involved. So let me know your thoughts down below if you haven't done so already, and I'll catch you in my next one.